Morning. I'll call to order this February 25th, 2020 continuance of the Seattle Waterfront LID assessment hearing. Today, one objection is being heard for the hearing examiner case number CWF 0076. We're set for an hour, and so we'll start with Alan's case.
I'll get out quicker than that, I hope.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Right. My name is Steve Danishek, D-A-N-I-S-H-E-K.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah, and if I could get your name?
Sure. My name is Christina, K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A,
Uh-huh.
Leggy, K-H-A-L-E-G-H-I, and I'm with the City Attorney's Office.
Got it.
And
Your
I'm Gabrielle Thompson, G-A-B-R-I-E-L-L-E, and I'm with K&L Gates
Got it, thanks.
on behalf of the city.
Right. And I'm Steve Danishek. Thank you. I've got a few things to go over, and I'll give you documents as we go. Is that all right?
It's your opportunity to present your objection.
Right.
Yes. Please proceed.
And
and I'm sorry. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide in today's hearing will be the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. And just to set out the thing, when I have documents to give to you, I give them to you or to...
You should hand them to my legal
to
assistant,
Galen.
Mr.
Okay.
Edlin Cho.
And you'll put copies of the remarks in the permanent record then? Everything that we give to you
These
today?
microphones are here purely for recording. We also have a transcriptionist that's,
Right, I
that's
understand that too,
recording.
but the documents that I give to Galen then also go into the permanent record?
Yes, you said comments, but the documents,
Documents
the
as
documents
well.
that you introduced are exhibits, and they'll be
All right,
labeled
all right.
as they come in.
Okay, and I'm sure you've heard many of these same arguments again.
That's fine. This is your opportunity for your case, and,
I
and
understand.
I'm here to listen for your case. So I will hear what you
All
have
right.
to say.
Very good. All right. This is a copy of the comments. I'll give you the attachments or documents as we go along.
Okay. Do you have copies for the city?
Yes, I have just one set of copies. Oh, I do have two sets of copies.
All right. So you want to give a copy of anything you give to me to the city as well. This item will be marked as Exhibit 1.
Alrighty, so here we go. This is the, as you'd mentioned, the objection to the final waterfront lid assessment and appeal of the final assessment amount. Tax parcel 919-587-630, owned by myself and my wife Dee Tizelli. The physical address is 2000 Alaskan Way, number 155, Seattle 98121. Mr. Examiner, we received a letter dated December 30, 2019 from the Seattle Office of City Clerk with a proposed final assessment noting that the following for our parcel: the final special benefit of lid improvement to parcel $18,882. The proposed final lid assessment for the parcel $7,398.38. And for the record, our King County assessor evaluations for 2017, $453,000, 2018, $516,000, 2019, $615,000, and for 2020, $640,000. We are requesting that the amounts be adjusted. The special final benefit to the lid improvement parcel be reduced to 0, and the proposed final lid assessment for the parcel also 0. Our objections are based on the fact that the final special benefit fails to reflect numerous adverse impacts that the project will have on our specific property, as well as on many of the flaws in the lid itself, the methods and values assigned by the lid appraiser, and the conduct, biases, failures to disclose, concealments, and lack of fair dealing by the City Council. We understand that this hearing is to focus on our objections, but we are also including additional lid issues, as all of this will establish our kind of before baseline in anticipation of future legal action against the city. So please note, there is a lawsuit to be heard May 6, 2020, Superior Court Case 19-205-733-5, Seattle. And that was attachment number 10, and the objections, our original objections, which I assume you have there.
Yes.
Okay. The plaintiffs are requesting that the lid be remanded to the City Council for reconsideration based on two constitutional issues. Judge Rule stated this is a classic case that should go to trial. We will be supporting the plaintiffs in this case and believe that the plaintiffs may well prevail. Since this would reset and restart the entire lid process, we also believe that it would be in the home and property owners' interests to hold this hearing in abeyance for at least the outcome of the case as determined by Judge Rule. Of course, that was February 4, and you'd already said we're going past that.
Yes.
So, further, we are recommending that any lid assessment collection activity cease immediately pending production by the city and Waterfront Seattle project, referred to as a project, of specific plans, engineering cost estimates, and construction timelines, none of which currently exist in final form, and without which owners within the lid have absolutely no way of determining the special benefit, if any, may exist, and no way of determining what % of the project has been completed or will be completed, and thus no way to determine the amount of refund or request from the lid assessment that may have been paid, i.e., if there's a 50% project completion, we would expect a 50% rebate or refund request. We understand you've denied the motion to continue February 4, et cetera, so that's passed. This is a classic case of the cart being before the horse, way before the horse. We understand that the City Council's blind drive to get at our money without disclosing exactly what we are paying for. By the way, did you Google me, either of you? No? Okay, that's fine. We've made comments in the media, just checking to make sure you haven't seen those. However, the City Council got themselves into this mess by borrowing in advance nearly $50 million of the now reduced lid amount of $160,000. With that borrowing, the City Council compromised any position of fairness and lack of bias. The City Council is most certainly biased and intends to reduce the hearing examiner's role here to a simple pro forma exercise that must adhere to the City Council's desired outcome. Therefore, we find it difficult to believe that the hearing examiner can be fair and impartial. My apologies, but this case.
You're making your case. Go ahead.
Yeah, we all understand that this is nothing more than a wealth transfer scheme conjured up by the City Council, as they knew they could never have sold the Waterfront project to the city, county, state residents by a vote. If the City Council can't sell the project's value to the real users, why are the lid property owners paying? The City Council has promised to build us lid payers a $200 million improvement, then negotiated away $40 million to secure a promise not to protest from a group of business owners, then borrowed $50 million against the lid, leaving the net available of $110 million to build the improvement. We are supposed to believe that the city can build us a $200 million improvement with $110 million. The lid assessment collection is premature. Final special benefits and assessment should be zeroed out until the City Council reconsiders legitimate waterfront project funding sources. The lid is an illegitimate funding mechanism, in my opinion. First, the lid is an illegitimate funding source for the waterfront project, therefore no special benefits can be legally determined. Application of the lid is inconsistent with the law. This project is not local. As stated repeatedly by the city, the proposed project will draw 8 million annual citywide, county, regional, state, and international visitors, or users, yet $160 million lid extraction will be funded by 4,900 homeowners and 1,500 business property owners, less than 1% of the actual users. In other words, we're paying a lot of money, we're not getting value. Local homeowners who are providing funding via the lid do not have any more benefits than visitors who have paid nothing. And this is attachment A. It should be attached to your copy there, A here. Just verifies Marshall Foster's comments on the lid.
That'll be marked Exhibit 2.
Correct. And just for the record, also giving you attachment, my attachment B, that'd be your number 3. This is a op-ed that we had in the Puget Sound Business Journal. That's been printed.
That'll be marked Exhibit 3.
And this is C in your packet here. This is the next one. The op-ed hasn't been done yet. And both of these basically go back to the, not so much a special assessment, but the baseline of the lid.
And that'll be marked Exhibit 4.
Right. In the objection letter previously sent to you, item number 8 goes back to this. The lid is not local, and because the lid is not local, it's not nor intended to provide special benefits to homeowners because it's not local. The City and Waterfront Seattle representatives stated publicly and in the print media that the project will draw regional, state, and international visitors. That is their admission, and that this is not local, and thus the use of a local improvement district is inappropriate and possibly illegal. Local homeowners who are providing funding via the lid do not have any more benefits than visitors who have paid nothing. This is not, the lid is not local, and the lid is not fair. Second, refers to the user fees, and again, this is, we'll get to my special benefits later, but the user fee we wanted to put in here because it is become an issue and is a legitimate, by the way, I'm in the travel business. I'm a travel analyst nationwide, so we follow trends and how cities tax hotels, motels, rental cars, things like that, so we can determine, what commercial travel benefits there are for corporations who are doing that sort of thing. So I am very aware of cities across the country and their use of user fees to fund projects exactly like this. And so these comments have to do with the fact that we have, the city has gone right past the user fees, never even stopped to consider them, and have gone to the lid as a kind of a phony baloney way of getting money that should reasonably come out of actual user fees. So, user fees are legitimate funding sources for these types of projects. We object to any special benefit determination via an possibly illegal lid use, particularly when a legal alternative means of funding with user fees exists. Many major U.S. cities fund public projects with user fees, including the City of Seattle, except for the City Council's attempt to substitute legitimate user fees for a possibly illegitimate lid. The City Council was negligent when they made that crucial decision to go to the lid rather than user fees. The lid attempts to collect $160 million in closed-end funding against which the city has already borrowed $50 million. Yet we have determined that a simple increase in actual existing user fees in the City of Seattle could easily raise the same $160 million in 3.7 years and have an open-ended funding source to cover cost overruns. The problem with the lid is it ends. You get $160 million, you don't get anything else, but you have to produce it. With user fees, cities increase their user fees so that they can continue to collect off the same funds to the end of the project. So if there are cost overruns, user fees allow them to do that. The city has a number of user fees in place. We are not near the top in major cities in any of those user fees. So we have plenty of room to move the true user fees higher to compensate for the exact same amount of money and leave it open-ended. User fees are truly reflective of the actual visitors. The lid assessments should be zeroed out and the matter remanded to the City Council for reconsideration of legitimate funding sources. And this is just a little worksheet. This is D in your packet over there. And just a thing we did to show how you can use existing user fees to accomplish the same goal.
Marked as Exhibit 5.
Now, and just again, I know it's not my special benefit, but on the user fees, we had discussion with the Seattle Sheridan. They have I think it's $1.5 million assessment, which they're going to pay for by simply adding $5 or so per room night for about 2 years. It's exactly, a de facto user fees are doing exactly the same thing that the city should have done to put additional user fees on hotel rooms. The Seattle Aquarium will undoubtedly increase their admission fees. Again, a prima facie acknowledgement of the real need for user fees. However, homeowners do not have the opportunity to defray the cost of their lid assessment. The lid creates an unfair, inequitable dichotomy between the homeowners and business property owners, such that the special benefits are inequitable and unfair. Business owners can recoup, we cannot. The city's discussions and agreements ex parte with the McCulloch Group exacerbated the imbalance and distortion, and that's I'll say there. Third, now back to the lid. They are to provide actual physical material benefits, not speculative and conjectural benefits. The special benefit determinations here are both speculative and conjectural, as well as unfounded and insupportable, and should be voided. That's our special benefit. The lid will not bring electricity, phone, internet service, fire stations, fire trucks, medic vans, roads, irrigation canals, sewer systems, or such that physically serve our buildings. We get nothing. The waterfront lid violates the law, in my opinion. We did not request the lid. Nothing in the waterfront project will physically improve the lives at Waterfront Landings condominium, and that's ours. Further, as opposed to examples previous projects that Valbridge has touted, this project is not an urban renewal project. So we're not starting tearing down old buildings and building up better infrastructure. We already have that. We're going to get brand new streets with the SDOT funding for the viaduct removal. We get all of that. So we're adding some trees in a bike lane, as far as we can tell. Fourth, the project costs are outdated. This is something we've known for a long time. The plans and cost estimates are incomplete. We have no way of determining what will be delivered. I was born in Seattle. I'm a lifelong Seattleite. I've suffered through city debacle after debacle, cost miscalculations one after another, and know not to trust this city council in any way, particularly when based on conjured estimates. And I have worked politically with mayors and council people over the many years. The actual costs and plans must be known and disclosed before any special benefit can be determined and collected. More frightening is the project's determination to commingle funds from various funding sources, including the lid, then spread the funds to benefit certain parties at the expense of others. Of specific concern here is that any lid funds go to pay for any part of the Ocean Pavilion. This is specifically because the aquarium, the waterfront, Friends of the Waterfront have stated publicly that they will raise over $100 million, I think it's 160, to build the Ocean Pavilion. Yet the numbers that we have seen do not support that they'll be able to do that. We do not want our lid funds to pay for the Ocean Pavilion when that has been promised to be paid for by donations. Unless final plans and costs are known, homeowners have no way of challenging or calculating our liabilities from the project. The actual adverse impacts would remain unknown. It's premature to collect lid funds at this time. That's in the original objection letter, point number 2. We don't know what we're paying for. There are no plans or specifications on file with the clerk's office for lid improvements, and it is unlawful to move to final assessments without such plans and specifications. And the ordinance is cited. Now, we're going to go specifically to Waterfront Landings condominiums. That's ours. And deal with the lack of special benefit in our specific case. Fifth, specific to Waterfront Landings condominiums, there will be no special benefit for at least the reasons below. The project will have multiple known adverse impacts on waterfront landings. These have been stated to the city previously. These negate any special benefit. A, limitation of vehicle entry and egress. The poor design of the Pine Street connector ramp will adversely affect our vehicle access. Are you familiar with the ramp? Either of you?
Counsel for the city's not here to be asked questions.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You just have an
Are
opportunity
you
to
familiar
present
with
your
it?
case. And I'm not here to ask questions,
Okay.
or answer questions either.
Then I'll point you to taking a look at that particular ramp.
Okay, thank you.
So you can determine how it adversely impacts our vehicle access. The south end of our building is now on Pine Street, which is double lanes. With the Pine Street connector, they are attempting to bring traffic off Alaskan Way, bend it around the end of our building, and rise up 18 feet to a new intersection on the new Elliott Way. Okay? So whereas Alaskan Way now goes straight, flat, and we were told it would continue to flat and join the new Elliott Way by the aquarium, they instead have constructed a massive ramp that goes, starts mid-building, goes up about 6 feet to the end of our building, and then up 18 feet to a new intersection with Elliott Way. The problem is that where we have nothing right now, there's no blockage of any views or anything, we will have this ramp that goes up. The proximity to the south end of our building is such that we will lose 2 lanes going in and out of our building. We will have 1. Not only that, whereas now we can turn on Pine Street and right into our garage or out, we will have to go up mid-building and turn right and then come back on I forget what they call it, but it's a multiple use where pedestrians and cars can go on the same lane. Goes around the edge of our building and then into our garage. Okay, so we will, and because you can't get 2 cars end to end, I mean going around, they won't even see each other, we'll have to use 1 garage to come in, 1 garage to go out. And the problem there is that the north end of our garage shares the loading dock with the Marriott Hotel. So when they're loading their trucks there, we can't use that. So what we're going to be reduced to is, instead of being able to go in and out of our north gate and south gate, we don't get to do that anymore. We'll have to go in one, come out the other, and just cross our fingers that the Marriott trucks are not delivering at the time we wish to go in or out. As the Pine Street connector ramp. All right. And we have brought this to the city's attention. It's poorly designed. We were
Went
never.
off script a little bit.
I'm sorry?
Was what you just said actually in here already? It seemed like you were going off script.
I'm sorry. Yes, I was off script. It's A.
That's all right.
Number 5th and A.
And the name of the ramp, that wasn't the overlook ramp?
No,
That's
no,
a
no.
different one?
It's below
Okay.
the overlook, and
Okay.
that's part of the other problem.
Great, thank you.
But yes, it was ramped up to accommodate the Overlook Park and the Ocean Pavilion. Before we knew the Ocean Pavilion was going to be there, we were told that the Alaskan Way would remain flat and would join the new Elliott Way in front of the aquarium. Then that was changed, so the ramp is an accommodation for the Ocean Pavilion. Okay. All right, so that's adverse. Second, B, there are significant adverse impacts from increased visitor, pedestrian, and vehicle traffic. Depending on the source, the expected increase in the visitor traffic to the proposed Ocean Pavilion, which is within 100 feet of our building, is 1.5 to 8 million additional visitors. And we have, this is E and F on your copies over there.
It's been marked as 6 and 7.
And in attachment F, which is the pie charts, you'll note that 92% of the city's estimate of those visitors are non-local visitors. They aren't us. We're not visiting the aquarium. They aren't us. 28% are day trip tourists from outside the region. 27% are overnight tourists from outside the region. 37% are non-city metropolitan area residents. They would be regional users. In other words, 92% of the users are not local, yet a local improvement district is being used to pay for this. C, we will lose our current convenient access to Pike Place Market, including ADA access, because of the off script then, if you wish, the way the Pine Street ramp bends, we won't be able to go from our building to the elevators in the Pike parking garage as we do now. We will have to cross the street, go up a ramp, and then back in through into whatever they're going to be designing. Okay, D, our views of Elliott Bay are not improved by the lid. In fact, our views are now and for the future adversely impacted by the derelict and abandoned Pier 63, which is an eyesore. We voted and were promised 2 new piers to replace Pier 62 and 63 for concerts and whatnot for $45 million. But we have 1 new pier, 62, which costs an estimated $100 million, of which $25 million apparently was borrowed from the lid, and a derelict Pier 63. And the way it's been constructed off script, the derelict Pier 63 will be allowed to simply sit there and rot. There is no opportunity or possibility that it can be rehabbed. It can't be removed because they put the south dock in before they removed the north dock. So I guess we're simply going to sit there and watch it disintegrate until it falls over and is then hauled out. But we paid for 2 new piers, we get 1, and the Pier 63 is our daily reminder that we're not getting what we paid for. E, the Ocean Pavilion is an irrelevant city vanity project. Such marine, wildlife, and captivity facilities, particularly with non-native fish, are out of vogue across the country. And I can tell you, because I'm in the travel business, we see aquariums across the country closing. They get into financial difficulty and they're gone. The construction depends on $100 million in donations raised by the Friends of the Waterfront, yet few of the funds have been collected. Definitely PETA will be protesting the facility. Virtual reality opportunities make this facility irrelevant. And off script here, as I was sitting, going through my travel updates from various sources, the Mandalay Bay, which has the famous shark tank, you know that one, they're replacing going to virtual reality sharks. Okay, so even they're getting rid of them. That's new. The actual costs of maintenance are not available, and the energy costs for the new Ocean Pavilion are enormous. Remember that these are sharks. The Elliott Bay seawater must be filtered, heated, used, refiltered, cooled, and returned to Elliott Bay. One slip up and the heated water dumps into Elliott Bay, cooking all the nearby marine wildlife. South Seas sharks viruses will be introduced through effluent to Elliott Bay marine life. There is no assurance that the fish tank, or the Ocean Pavilion, will ever be completed or abandoned after completion, becoming derelict. That would be an adverse impact. F, the city pitched Victor Steinberg Park, which is adjacent to the market overlook, as an oasis near the market. But it has become a drug-riven, filthy, stench-filled gathering place with unenforced crime and vagrancy. The new lid-funded Overlook Park will become a brand-new magnet for unenforced drug use, misdemeanor crimes of all sorts, campers, panhandlers, etc., just 60 feet from our building. No one believes that the city will ever keep it clean and enforce laws there, and if you doubt that, we suggest that you have a conversation with the Steinberg Park denizens who are ready to move in and occupy the brand-new Overlook Park. We have. That's adverse. Sixth, just a technical thing, the design of the Pine Street ramp, because it's between the Ocean Pavilion and our building, will trap still air on foggy days, concentrating vehicle exhaust fumes from idling traffic that must accelerate uphill at the stoplight. Yet this potential health problem does not appear in any SEPA reports. This is a problem that will be ignored until harm occurs. We are including this just to be sure it's baselined. The old viaduct passed directly behind and along the entire length of Waterfront Landings condominiums. The elevated roadway, however, allowed for the dissipation of both vehicle noise and fumes. The soon-to-be constructed new Elliott Way will be a new 4-lane road passing by the 2-story level of our building. So we will be adding more noise and vehicle exhaust where there were none before. The viaduct was way above our building. The new roadway is at our building level, so we will now have all the noise and fumes and everything from a lower roadway. We consider that adverse. Seventh, there's significant disagreement in the property value determinations, including those used for the special benefits, between the King County Assessor's Office and the Lid Valbridge Appraiser. The King County Assessor is already predicting flattening of market rates, devaluing the special benefits. The Lid Appraiser's mission is to support the Lid special benefits, to support funding. That's a clear bias. However, the King County Assessor's job is to determine real valuations free of Lid bias. And this matter should be addressed in court. I believe it is in the court case coming up. And just to reiterate, this is not the Lid project, the Waterfront project, is not urban renewal. So comparisons to other urban renewal projects are moot. Eighth, there is no special benefit if there's no mitigation clause. Homeowners will develop baselines that are before for comparison with after values to determine the accuracy of the lid amounts paid. In any case where A, the before and after, and or B, the percent project completion are adverse, lid payers should be able to request refunds to mitigate the adverse collections. Waterfront Landings homeowners would be paying $1.852 million in lid collection, total lid collections for our building. Should the project attain only 50% completion, we should then sue the city for a $925,000 refund. That is why the project costs and scope must be exactly disclosed before lid assessments are collected. And ninth, the entire lid amount of $160,000 is not needed. So the entire lid can simply be eliminated with a 14% reduction in project scope. The best way to do that would be to simply eliminate the Pier 58 portion of the project, which aims to cover some, and I'm not sure 49,000 is the correct number, it's large, of open space, open water with a pier. All right, and that's about it. I have 3 other things to add in. This is May 2, 2018 letter. This is G in your copy over there, ladies. Having to do with the challenges for the special benefits study.
Is this document and the next 2, were these submitted with your objection as well?
No, they were
Okay.
not.
All right.
These are new. The next is
It's marked as Exhibit 8.
Okay, and this is January 27, 2020. It reiterates and expands on the other letter.
Marked as Exhibit 9.
And the last item, I in yours, is a letter to Marshall Foster from Patrick Snyder. And this reiterates the adverse impacts specific to Waterfront Landings condominiums, several of which I have expanded on in the comments.
Marked as Exhibit 10.
And did I give you, you have that one, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
Exhibit
That's from my copy.
2.
All right. I'm done. Do you have anything else? Fine.
Vanishing, anything from the city?
Nothing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanishing. Like to, are there any objections to Exhibits 1 to 10?
No objections.
Exhibits 1 to 10 are admitted. We will adjourn and reconvene the continued Waterfront LID assessment hearing at 9 a.m. February 26th. Thank you.
I was the only one today?
Yes.
Thank you.